welcome to a new season of I Take.
D.
I'm Joel.
And I'm Carla.
And boy, do we have an interesting season for everyone.
Yes, we do.
This time around, instead of just like bringing specific topics, we are going to talk about
our story.
It's our story, 20 years in the making. Woo, it's been a journey.
It has been a journey.
It's been its ups, its middles.
And their downs.
And their downs, that's so true. And so what we hope to do is kind of take those 20 years, kind of compress them, and take a few episodes to share as much as we can.
Yeah, and our goal is for sharing our story. We can teach or even give you some kind of tools on how we overcome our most challenging moments and how do we just made a decision to still love each other through all those years and through all those challenges.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we always got to be reminded that this is a choice. You have to choose to love someone. I know people talk about the butterflies in the stomach and all that. And yes, at the beginning, there's some attraction, some physical attraction. But all that goes away after a little bit. And so you have to make a choice about loving someone. So we have made that choice.
Yes.
And what we hope, again, is to just share our experience. As you can tell, we have our picture of when this journey began for us. But, I mean, I think it's important for us to share with our audience and for folks who are watching us that, or hearing us, listening to us, that this really started way back. Mm-hmm. We didn't know it did, but it did. You want to talk a little bit about that?
So this started in elementary school, right?
At McDonough School in the city of Hartford.
5th grade. That is the first time I met Joel in our classroom when I just was a new student because I didn't start McDonough School from kindergarten. I actually began in grade 5.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was thinking about this, like, where did our life, when did our plan really start? And I'm gonna sound crazy in saying that I think it really started back in the 50s. No, we're not that old.
No, we're not.
But I really do think it started in the 50s because my grandparents moved to Hartford in the 50s. And that's how I was born and raised in Hartford. My grandparents came here. They settled in Hartford. Then my dad settled in Hartford. He got married and settled in Hartford with mom. And then you came.
I came around in 1989, around that late 80s, almost close to the 90s. I was 9 years old when I came into the United States from the island of Puerto Rico. So I think we spoke about that as well, that if it wasn't for those situations that happened back with our own parents, I don't think Joel and I would have ever have met and would have never taken the life that we have built together if that didn't happen with our parents, right? Whatever challenges, whatever decisions that they made that early on helped us to meet, right?
Yeah, and I want you to keep that in mind as we talk about our journey of 20 years in the making, because the decisions that we make as adults in our marriage have either positive implications or negative implications. The challenge is that sometimes we don't even know if those decisions are going to be negative or positive until years after. But I am a strong believer that for those who trust in the Lord and for those who follow the Lord, which was the case like in my grandparents, my parents, and so in our lives, that everything that's meant for evil will turn into good.
That's right.
And so in Carla's story, it was meant for evil.
Yeah, that's right, because even though your family kind of gather here and then your parents move back and forth from Puerto Rico to here to Hartford, they still married, right?
Yeah.
But my situation is a little bit different. The reason why I came to the United States is because of an actual separation from my parents, in the process of getting a divorce. So even though our stories may not align, like I can look now and say, wow, definitely things that were not great, how God has turned it for the positive, for the good. And I believe that honestly, because yes, my parents got divorced at an early age when I was, really young. But again, if that didn't ever took place in that life, in that lifestyle, and in that time, again, I wouldn't be here, right? I could possibly still be in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, and we probably would have never met. And with that, we're not applauding the fact that her parents got divorced. Obviously not. That would never be our case.
No.
We're talking about marriage and staying together. But what we are trying to say is that, again, even in our story, going back, it goes beyond us. And it's the fact that even when things seem like they were meant for evil
Yes.
in her life or in our lives, God still turned it for good.
Yes.
And we met, and so here it is, 1990, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I think
we
one
were
of
students.
the students, yeah.
Interestingly enough and funny enough, because the story, this is, we're gonna be honest and transparent. I used to rank on her when I was that age, in 5th grade, that she was going to marry my best friend.
I think secretly he liked me, but he never wanted to show it. Or, he was pretending.
Where did you get that from? Maybe. I didn't know at that time. Well, you say you probably weren't even attracted to me, so, which is okay. It's all right. But I do. I remember ranking on my best friend, like, oh, Carla's going to be your wife. And it just didn't happen that way, although you guys became really good friends, more than me.
Yes, we were really good friends until middle school.
Yeah.
And in freshman year of high school, I want to say.
Sure. So we met in 5th grade. We graduated together from 6th grade at a McDonough school in Hartford. She went her way.
Yes.
I went my way with my family. We used to move a lot in Hartford. And so we went our separate ways. She went to a different middle school with my best friend. He ended up in the same middle school, and they just kept with each other. And I didn't. After 6th grade, we didn't even reconnect.
No, absolutely not.
We didn't know anything about our lives.
Even after high school, he went to another school in high school, and I went to another high school. His best friend, who was my friend at that time as well, and but never encountered Joel again since the 6th grade.
That's true.
Even though we still had the same good friend, best
Right,
friend
yeah,
at that time.
yeah.
It's just funny how we still never connected.
I remember you telling me that he would even wait for you at the bus stop,
Yeah,
and at least
I don't know if you'll remember that, but he will wait for me. He will get dismissed from his school. He used to go to Prince Tech, I remember, and his bus stop, and I will walk because I was going to Buckley at that time, and I will walk, and we will meet each other at the bus stop where he will be left off from Prince Tech, and just kind of, because that's the only time we were able to kind of, back then there's no cell phones.
Yeah.
So that's you did interactions through face to face. That's the only thing you could do back then. There was no such thing as cell phones.
Yeah.
So we wanted to continue our friendship. Is the only person I knew at that time, and that's funny story. But yeah.
So then, if we fast forward, then you're asking, okay, so when did you guys reconnect?
Oh yeah.
Again, we didn't know anything about what was going on in our lives. I joined the military.
Yes.
I leave for the Marines, and I am now now we're talking 2002.
Yes.
I enlisted in 1998, went to the Marines. She graduated herself, was following her path, her journey. I was following my journey. I graduated from high school and went straight into the military, went into the Marines. And I went in 1998, but now it's fast forward my military career, and now it's 2002. I'm still in the military.
You're still in the military.
And I find out my sister is dating your brother.
Yeah. I mean, I knew your sister before I even reconnected with you.
Yeah.
As she was dating at that time one of my brothers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was again like no idea
No.
of how our path, and I guess through this first episode, we just want to kind of share how our path started, right?
Yeah,
You may
and
look-
it might be similar to other
it may be
people.
similar.
Maybe not like military and all this, but in how they
Exactly.
reconnected.
And I think it's important for all of you to know that regardless of how our story began or what got us to where we are, we talked about a little bit about my parents got divorced and his parents are actually still married today. But what I'm saying is, through that, and why are we sharing that? Why are we being really open and transparent through our story is because I want you to know that regardless of what your past generation was, right? If it was a generation of parents who got divorced and it just in that cycle, regardless of that cycle, you can choose to break that cycle, right? I chose to, like, that I was not gonna follow those footsteps from my parents of, getting divorced. And those are the things that we want to share through our story, that even though it seems rough and it may seem like, like like not like a fairy tale, nothing looks like a fairy tale, but it is, you have the opportunity to build your story, and you don't have to always think about what was and what could have been. Just look for the future and moving forward. And I think that's important for me to share with you all, because we're sharing it as part of our story and how we were able to get to where we are today.
Yeah, it was still, what's clear is that it was two different paths.
Yes.
Two different lifestyles, or not lifestyle, but backgrounds or experiences, where my parents are celebrating, 43 years of marriage versus, for your case, the circumstances that your parents had at the moment, it just kind of ended up in divorce. And, with that, we also don't want to put shame on them. I mean, there were some circumstances there that, were happening. And so it ended up with separation and then divorce. And that's how you ended up in Hartford. So my sister shows me, so I come home. I had 96 hours to come home. This is already 2002. I had 96 hours to come home and spend time with my family. I was stationed in North Carolina, in Jacksonville. It was Camp Lejeune, which was the camp that I was in or stationed at. And I came up, and my sister shows me a picture of Carla. To this point, even when she shows me the picture, I can't remember that we had known each other since 5th grade. But since we had not connected since 5th and 6th grade, she showed me a picture, and all I could say to my sister is like, "Ooh, who's that?"
That's right.
I'm like, cause this is another funny part. Like, that was actually my MO a lot of times. Like, if my sister had like friends that were very attractive, or my cousins, I have a lot of female cousins. If they had friends that were very attractive, I will always pull the card of like, "Hey, hook me up, hook a brother up, hook a cousin up." And so my cousins and my sister were always like, "No, if you're gonna break their hearts, or you're gonna not be serious about it." But I would throw the whole like, "Well, blood is thicker than water." So whatever, I took that same approach at first, not knowing that we would end up 20 years after, like, being together. But I threw that card. Like, I was like, "Sister, she looks good. Like, you gotta hook it up. You gotta hook a brother up." And she's like, "Bro, she's serious about her life. She's mature. You can't be playing." But I still told my sister, I'm like, "You still got to give me her number." And so I took her number, and I went back down to North Carolina. And then, I kind of paced around a little bit. And after pacing around for a little bit, I called you. What happened with that call?
I think that's for another episode.
Well, I mean, the sister hook it up, I can at least tell you that in that first phone call, to this whole point, we're talking, and I still can't connect. She couldn't connect that we actually knew each other from 5th grade. I mean, she didn't know that she was talking to the Joelle from 5th and 6th grade, and neither did I know I was talking to the Carla that I knew back then.
And just to be honest, I did not give permission for my number. I have to put that out there.
My sister hooked it up. She was so good. Didn't get permission, but blood was thicker than water. And she was like, "You know what? I'm going to hook my brother up."
Yes, he did. I think that was brave enough for him to take that step and giving that phone call. But, as we always know, we like to keep our episodes for 15 minutes. So our time is almost heading there. So we don't want to go into the details of that phone call and how that phone call took place and what happened after that.
Yeah.
But we would definitely share that in another episode. So stay tuned
for our next episode, where we will share the next part of where we ended up after that phone call and what happened with that phone call, and what was established. with that phone call. Please follow us on
I Take Tea Ministry. We are in Instagram, we are in Twitter, and we are also in Facebook.
Yeah, so click on that like so you can, get notifications, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get notifications when we are, uploading our videos. Share with others if you believe that this could be of a positive outcome or a positive opportunity for other couples. Share our videos and let us know how it goes. Put comments or whatever.
Yeah.
Do any of that.
Ask us questions if you feel like you want to know a little bit more. We'll love that opportunity as well to comment and just let us know what else you'd like to know. I know we can't, it's 20 years in the making, so we can't share everything, but we will do the best we can to just be vulnerable, honest, transparent, just to share our path and how that helped us to become the married couple that we are today.
Excellent. Well, we will post these videos once a week for a period of time until we can, fast forward to our year 20.
Yes.
Well, thank you all and God bless you. We'll see you until next time.
Bye.